Hey guys, welcome to my YouTube channel. Today we're going to learn how to make this trendy top. If this is what you're interested in, keep watching, like, share and subscribe. Thank you. So to get started, we're going to start by drafting our basic upper bodice. And to do that, I've already marked out my starting line. I just marked out straight lines so we can start on that straight line. So here I'm marking out my shoulder divided by 2 plus half inch. I just marked it there, and I came down by 1.5 from that point for shoulder slant, and I went ahead to impute my armhole length, and I used the same measurement I used for my shoulder divided by 2 is what I use for my armhole, and it works for me most times. So I'm just trying to make a straight line, and I'll just go ahead and square it up, roll it up like this, and then mark an L-shaped line like this at that point. So I'll go over now to mark my neck measurement, and I use a standard neck measurement of 3 by 3. I'll just go ahead and square up the line. So after that, I'll go ahead and draw a straight line from my neck point to my shoulder slant. Then I'll go over now to my armhole. I'll come up by 1 inch at the L-shaped mark, and I'll mark half of the armhole and come out by half inch. I'll use my curved ruler to connect these lines together. Watch the way I place my armhole curve, and then I'll use a straight line to connect it to the shoulder point. So we'll go ahead now to do the horizontal measurement. I'll go ahead and mark my apex point, my under bust point, my half length, and then I'll mark my waist to hip line, or the length of the blouse. I'll go over it again, my apex point, my under bust, my half length, and my waist to hip line, because that's where I want the blouse to stop. That's where I want the top to end. So I'll go over and roll out these lines with my straight ruler. So I'll roll it out like this. So on my apex point, I'm going to mark my bust measurement. My bust measurement divided by 4 is what I'm going to mark there, and the measurement I'm working with is 34, so I'm going to mark 8.5 inches, and I'll go over to my waistline and mark my waist measurement divided by 4 plus 1 inch for that. And on my hip measurement, I'm going to mark my hip measurement divided by 4, and then I'll use my ruler to connect the lines. So okay, so I'll go to my waist measurement and mark my nipple to nipple divided by 2. I'm going to mark it on every point of the line that we marked out already, like this, and I'll use a straight ruler to roll it out. Then on the waistline, I'm going to take out the 1 inch that we added for that, which is taking half inch on both sides of the line and connecting it to my apex point and to my hip line, or the length of the top, as the case may be. So I've connected like this. I'll do a little bit of tightening on the under bust, not too much, so I'm just going in with half inch on both sides, and then I'll connect it to that leg. We don't want to do too much on the under bust, just a little bit of tightening on the under bust, and then I'll connect it also to my apex point. You can also use a straight ruler to connect this point to the apex points. It will also work, serve the same purpose. So since we're doing an armhole, princess dart. I'm just marking the length, the half of the armhole, and then I'm connecting it to my apex point. On that line, I'm going to come down by 1 inch. I'll come down by 1 inch, and then I'll mark it also, connect it also to the apex point, and then I'll extend this particular line. So that 1 inch I took out from that point, that's 1 inch that I took out. I'm going to replace it here now. I've marked it there, and then I'll connect it back to my armhole like so. So this is my standard princess dart mark. I'll just go over now and put my side dart. My side dart I'm using is 1 inch or 1.5. You can use 1.5 or 1 inch. I will now connect it straight to the apex point, and this is actually the basic block for this. So I'll go back to the neckline. Because this neckline is very close to the neck point, I think this 3x3 will be too wide for my client, so I'm going back with my ruler to mark out 1/2 inch all the way. So I'm just taking 2.5 instead of 3 inches. I'm doing 2.5 inches all the way like this. So I'll connect back my shoulder point to that neck point. So with this now, I'll have a very fitted neckline for the top. So for the slant in front, I want my slant to start like 1.5 inch from my waistline. I want you to start like 1.5 inch from my waistline. So I'm just going to go ahead and mark that point, 1.5 inch from my waistline. Then I'll use my ruler to straighten it out. So that's where my slant is going to start from. So I'll go back to the hem of the dress at the center front. I'll come in by 2 inches and I'll connect it to the 1.5 inch slant like so. To the 1.5 I marked, sorry. So I'm just going to slant the line like this. So when I open it up, it's going to be opening of 4 inches. If you want it smaller, you can make it 2 inches. So I went over to the side and I took 1.5 inch upwards, and I'm using my curved ruler to curve it to the dart leg. This will give a fine curve at the side of the blouse. I'll go over now and mark my sewing allowance on the sides. Just mark out my sewing allowances, and for this blouse I'm adding 1.5 inch all the way. So I'll just go ahead and mark out 1.5 inch all the way to the end of the blouse, and I'll use my ruler to connect it like so. So that's basically all for the front bodies. We'll go over now and we'll draft the back bodies. And for the back, I've already marked out my starting point. So I'll go over now and mark my shoulder divided by 2 plus 1/2 inch, and I'll come down by 1 inch for shoulder slant, and then I'll go ahead and mark out my armhole length just the same way we did for the front, and I'll use my ruler to square off that line. I'll go to the neck point. I'll mark out my neck measurement, and for the neck measurement I'm using 3 inches by 1 inch, and I'm going to square up that line as well. And I'll use my ruler to connect my neck point to my shoulder point, my shoulder slant, sorry. So after this, I'll go ahead now and mark out my apex, my half length, and the length of my blouse. Note that the half length of the back is shorter than the half length of the front by the quantity of side dart that we took in the front. So for me, my side that I took here is 1 inch, so my back half length is shorter than my front by 1 inch. I hope you understand. So I'm just marking out the lines. I'll go over now and mark out my bust measurement divided by 4, and I'll put it on my apex point, and I'll go to my waistline. I'll mark my waist divided by 4 plus 1 inch for that, and I added half inch here, and I'll show you why I added half inch while we draft. At the hem there, I added my hip divided by 4, and then I use my ruler to connect the lines. So I'm coming back to the waistline now. This waistline, I'm marking my nipple to nipple measurement divided by 2, and I'll use my ruler to straighten it out. I'll come to the waistline again and take out my darts of half inch on both sides, because we added 1 inch for that, and I'll mark it like this to the hemline and also to my apex points. So for the half inch I added initially, I just took it out at the waistline at the center back. This will serve as a zip tightening for the blouse. So I'll just go over and roll it out like this. And I'll come to my armhole. Let's fix the armhole. So for the armhole, just the same way we did for the front, I came up by 1 inch at the L-shape mark, and at the length of the armhole I came out by half inch. I divided the armhole by 2 and I came out by half inch. I hope you understand. And then I'm going to just square up this line like this. So because we're doing a princess dart, I'm just going to use my ruler to connect my apex point to the half of my armhole like this. So this is just what it will be. This is all for that back armhole princess dart. I just did the same thing at the hemline, the same thing I did for the front. I went up by 1.5 inch and I marked it, connected it to the dart leg. So for the front neckline as well, I decided to do the same 2.5 so that it will match up with the front neckline, and I will just extend my shoulder measurements. So this is basically all for the back. I'll go ahead and cut out these pieces, and we'll cut it on fabric as well, and we'll go ahead to sew it up. So we're done cutting, and this is the pattern for the back. I'm going to add my sewing allowance for the back there, and this is the pattern for the front. So I'll go over and cut them on fabric and bring it to show you. So this is it. I've cut the fabric. This is the front, and I've added sewing allowances to the necessary parts. And then for the front, because we're going to have a button in front, I added button allowance of 1.5 inch. So this is what it looks like. This is the front. I'll go over and join these pieces together, and this is the back. I've also cut it out and added the necessary sewing allowance, and I'll go over now and join these pieces together, and I'll bring it back to show you what it looks like. So I've joined the pieces. This is the pieces for the back. I have joined it together. So I didn't cut a lining for this, but you can cut a lining for yours if you want. I don't want this top to be very heavy, so I didn't cut a lining for it. Instead, I cut a facing for it, and I'm just going to use the facing to turn the neckline, and then I'll come back and show you what it looks like. And this is the front. I've also joined it as well. I also went ahead to cut a facing for the front, so but the facing for the front is more wider and longer than that of the back. So see what the facing of the front looks like. You see, I'm just going to use it to turn the neckline, and I'll use it to turn the button side and the down parts. I don't know if you get, but see what it looks like here. So I'll use it to turn the neckline, and I'll turn the bottom part, and then I'll turn this other side too, all the way neckline and down, and I'll come back and show you what it looks like. So this is it. See what it looks like. See what it looks like at the back. And I'm using it to cover the stitch that I made for my joining, which is the joining of the princess that. So this is the front. This is what it looks like after I have turned it with the facing. So this is it, and this is the back. This is what it also looks like. I have turned it with the facing and also ironed it. So I'm going to place this back right side facing each other and join the center. I'm going to place it like this, and I'll join the center. I just want to open this up like this, and I'll go over and join it with 1/2 inch because I added 1/2 inch sewing allowance, and I'll just join it with 1/2 inch all the way. So this is it. I have joined it. And I've also pressed it. I'll get my front now and place it right side facing each other, and I'll go ahead and join the shoulder points. I'll join it at the shoulder, join it there with 1/2 inch, and I'll do the same thing to the other side. I'll join the shoulder with 1/2 inch as well. I'll bring it back and show you what it looks like. So this is it. I've joined it, and I went ahead to also join the sides with my sewing allowance of 1.5 that I added. I've joined the sides, so I'll go over now and attach a sleeve to it. Attach the sleeve off camera. It's a small sleeve I just attached. If you want a tutorial on the sleeve, just comment in the comment section and I'll do a tutorial for that. So I'll go ahead and attach the sleeve. I'll hem the down of this top. I'll hem the inside. I'll serge everywhere and use my hemming gum to press it out. Then I'll wear it and show you what it looks like. So this is what it looks like. I've gone ahead to also fix my buttons. I did my buttonhole and my buttons, and I've gone ahead to press it out very clean. So it's sitting very fine, and that's a V-cut at the hem part. If this tutorial was helpful, give it a thumbs up, like, share and subscribe. See you in my next video. Thank you.